such that you just get a constant roll out of it. Okay? The next one is the same thing, only instead of just these two fingers, use three fingers. Then you have a four-stroke roll. After your downstroke, use your third finger, then your second, then your first. You can see I don't use that one as much. I'm not too good with that one. And the final one involves those same three fingers, only this time, instead of just one downstroke, you're doing the flamenco approach of making an individual downstroke with each finger. And then doing the same thing only with upstrokes, same order. Down, 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 up, up, up. And that one sounds different too. Okay. That's all I know about flamenco music. That pretty superficial? Okay. Great music. It's my favorite music, but it's just too awe-inspiring to me to actually learn very much from it. Oh, but there is one other thing, and I don't know if this is a flamenco technique or not. I actually just forgot about it and left it off this page. It's what I call the rake technique. It's at least similar to a flamenco technique, only instead of having your hand be located such that it doesn't move around, the hand actually goes sideways. Yeah, one finger at a time, starting with your pinky probably. And here the concept is overlapping strums. It's different from the flamenco concept where you try to finish the strum with one finger before you start it with the next. Here, once you've covered 3 or 4 strings, you want the next finger to come in. It's like this ideal pick you imagine it. It's got 3 or 4 picks spaced apart so your guitar sounds like an 18-string guitar. Yeah, useful technique, and you can do it while you're holding a pick. Just use these 3 fingers. In fact, you can even use it in strum, as I recall. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just like a lazy upstroke. So lazy that it becomes 3 different upstrokes. Yes?
How do you get the really slowly flamenco effect actually picking the notes? Why should you do that one?
Oh, this thing? You mean that kind of thing? Yeah, what you're doing is, I mean, there's a certain pattern that everybody uses. Actually, there are 2 patterns that everybody uses. What that is called is a tremolo. And you hit one note with your thumb, then the next 3 notes are A, M, I. Thumb, A, M, I, which are your 3rd, 2nd, and 1st fingers. So just do it on an octave or do it on any kind of chord. That's the pattern. And it wants to be real even. That's the main thing. Do it real slow for a long time. It's one of those things you have to do slow. It'll sound terrible if you don't. That's the most common pattern, but there's a flamenco approach which instead of being 4 strokes is 5 strokes, and that's thumb, I, A, M, I. So you're adding in a stroke with your first or your index finger before you do the other 3 strokes with your fingers. This is actually a quintuplet pattern. I've never heard it. I just read about it.
That same series, 2 different notes in a chord.
Oh, wait a minute. I see. You're talking about something entirely different. You're not talking about a tremolo. You're talking about this kind of thing? Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's the other Sabicus lick I copped. Yeah, that's a simple arpeggio pattern, which I found has served me very well, which is take a 4-note chord and play it from the bottom to the top and then back down using 4 fingers, your thumb and 3 fingers. and try to get it to the point where it's smooth but really fast. It's another one of those things that'll feel pretty awkward, and there'll be little glitches in it if you try to do it fast at first. So you want to do it fairly slowly at first. No, I'm not using my little finger. I'm playing. No. Although that's a pretty good idea, but I never do it unless one of my other ones is sore, in which case I sort of bring it in as a backup. And when you're doing that, you can hit the melody note, which is the top note usually, with your, what is this? Third finger, A. At the same time that you hit the bass note with your thumb. So the first stroke is actually 2 notes. Then you finish the pattern out. All that stuff that sounds like just, flourish after flourish is really nothing more than that pattern. Occasionally change strings. Get back. Okay. Let's say we change the subject. Let's look at harmonics for a second. It says harmonics. There's a sheet on harmonics. Okay. Does everybody know? First of all, has everybody found the sheet on harmonics? No. No. This is part of the original stuff that I gave you last time. There is a 2-page outline entitled Harmonics, and Harmonics page 2 of 2. Now, does anybody not have that? Great. Okay. In addition, might as well pull them together right now. There's a page which is a reduction of two pages from Guitar Player magazine, Lenny Bro's fingerstyle jazz article, which I gave you today, and then 2 pages of typewritten stuff entitled What Lenny Didn't Tell You. So we're talking about this one and that one. And those are going to serve as a kind of reference to this outline. We're not going to get into those pages for a minute. First, we're going to run through some of these other ways of doing harmonics. Okay, the one thing I want to make sure everybody understands is I used a code on this, and that's what it's saying right at the top of the page, just about the notation of the harmonics. In a lot of places, there are slashes down in the outline. And whatever is, if you look at that as a fraction, the numerator of the fraction, or x, is the finger that stops the string somewhere, probably in the middle of the string. When you do this, we're talking about this finger that creates the node. The node is the point in the string where you're stopping vibration. Okay. So the thing on the left side is always what finger is stopping that string. And the thing on the right side is what finger is hitting the string, meaning this hand, making it ring. One thing you should know about harmonics, just by the way, if you ever use them, is what happens when you create a harmonic in a string. It's just a principle of physics. You're causing a string which is vibrating in one wave like this to start vibrating in, let's say, 2 waves of half the length. Instead of this, you get this and this. And so at this middle point here, where the string is vibrating on either side, there is no vibration. And you can see that if you'll hit a harmonic hard, particularly on a low string. First hit your low string and just watch the string, especially in the middle. no harmonic. You'll see that at the middle of the string there's maximum vibration. Okay? Now if you hit the harmonic and look at the same place on the string, you'll see that there's virtually no vibration at all. It's actually not vibrating at that point. But if you look at the quarter points of the string, you'll see that now the maximum vibration is there at the halfway point of the halfway point. Okay. And there we, yeah.
Well, I have a question that that interests me in that scale.
Uh-huh.
Overtone, the overtones. They're occurring a harmonic, right? And,
Yeah.
is there a particular scale that you play to an overtone, or an overtone scale that can be played in each harmonic? Is there
Well, let me make sure I understand what you mean.
Now, I'm not exactly sure what an overtone is. I know that when you hit any note,
Yeah.
there are several other notes
Right.
incorporated in that one note.
That's right.
Okay. So, and is there a particular kind
Of scale
a
that.
scale that fits that?
Well, yes and no. Yes, in that there's an order in which those things appear, and so if you take the ones that appear first, you could put together a scale out of them. But no, in that as you get higher and higher in the overtone series, you'll cover every note there is, and you'll start covering all the microtones in between. Let's see, what is a harmonic series? Well, in the first two octaves, you get a seventh chord. So already we're talking about a dominant sounding thing. Then in the next octave above that, you're going to get what's called the Lydian dominant scale. You know what that is? Yeah. It's a major scale, only it's got a flatted seventh and a sharped four. So, yeah, I guess that's why that's called the overtone dominant scale. So that's as close as I would be able to come to saying what scale fits over those. But in fact, whenever you play a note, you're hearing harmonics way above that in some mixture. Now, for actually creating the artificial harmonics where almost all you hear is the harmonic you play, you're not going to really be concerned about any past the fourth or fifth one. If you can get up to 3 octaves, you're probably doing pretty well. And you remember a minute ago when I mentioned that there's a point at which the string doesn't vibrate? The reason I mention that is that if you're trying to play harmonics and you start dividing your string not into halves, but into thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, and eighths, then you've got to start being very careful about where you pick the thing. Because if you pick it at a node, then you're not going to get very much. For example, okay, the second harmonic. Here's the first, here's the second. This consists, it's at the, 7th fret. It's also at the 19th fret. Okay, this is dividing your string into segments of equal thirds. There and there. If you try to pick the harmonic at the 19th fret, you get that. Because you're trying to pick it at a place where it doesn't want to vibrate. You're giving crossed signals to it. So you've got to pick somewhere away from that fret. Okay? So the bottom line of this whole thing is, especially when you're trying to play high harmonics, get closer and closer to the bridge, or just stay near the bridge in the first place. And it gives you a good shot at getting them. Okay. Okay, that just covered A. Those are the natural harmonics on the instrument. Most people know about getting those already, so I'm not going to talk about those. There's something I've never seen anybody do, which is to simultaneously create a note at the 7th fret and at the 12th fret, which gives you an octave above the 7th fret harmonic. Does that make sense? No. Okay. Imagine playing the 12th fret harmonic and the 7th fret harmonic at the same time. Just stretch your hand out like this, such that you can hit it at both frets at the same time.
It's only on the same string.
On the same string, yeah, sorry. On the same string. And And what you should get, yeah, what you're doing is stopping the string at two different places. You're creating two different nodes. And you're playing both those on the same string, 12th and 7th fret. Then by hitting them at the same time, you get a higher harmonic an octave above. Now, that same harmonic is available down here. All you've done is take the least common denominator between half of a string and a third of a string, which is a sixth of a string. And so that harmonic exists down here. But with the one that exists down here, you can't do this. And in which case, all I'm doing is lifting up the finger at the 12th fret. Does that make sense? I'm seeing a mixture of, and
Why can't you do it down at the lower spot?
oh, you can. Uh-oh. Well, I forget I said anything. Yeah, you can do it down at the lower spot, too. No, I just never thought of it. It's a good idea, though. This looks cooler. No, it doesn't even look cooler. Okay, well, see? I have to put something else on here about that. Okay, artificial harmonics. First, the standard technique. Most people hit harmonics with a pick, using their, holding the pick somewhere else and using their index finger to create the harmonic. First, do you know what I mean by an artificial harmonic? Does anybody not know what I mean by an artificial harmonic? Okay. You fret a note, and then you create a harmonic by creating a node 12 frets above that note on the same string, and then picking it with the same hand. It's called artificial because it's no longer from an open string. Yeah, so the standard thing to do is create the node with your first finger and then pick it with your pick. Okay, now people, who's really well known for this? Tal Farlow's well known for playing whole solos like that in harmonics. Yeah, you're using your finger to stop the string, create the node, and you're using your pick to pick the string. Okay? If you're not a pick style player, or if you're not for the moment, use your thumb to pick the string. Just the same thing. Now your finger stops the string, the thumb strikes the string. Alternatively, your finger stops the string and your pinky strikes the string. Okay, this is an upstroke with your pinky. I suggest that you use your pinky doing this because it's farther in distance from the node, and whenever you can get far away from the node, you'll get a stronger sounding harmonic. Okay. Okay. Okay, here's one that everybody's heard the rock and roll techniques that people use where they go. I'm not doing it particularly well, but you create harmonics with the side of your thumb while you're picking. And usually you're going for a higher harmonic than the first harmonic. You might be going for the second or third harmonic. What you're doing there is using the side of your thumb to create the harmonic at the same time that you're picking it right at the node practically. Because you're picking it at the same place that you're creating the node, it doesn't work real well, but as an electric technique, it's worked so far. Uh, anyway, there's a better way of doing that, better in that it's a lot more accurate and still gets the same effect, and that is to pinch the string essentially between your pick, which you're holding a normal way, and your middle finger. Now think of your middle finger as being at the node of the string. The middle finger touches the point at which you want to create the harmonic, and the pick is picking towards the neck of the guitar from there. Can people see this? Does this make sense? Here's the pick. Here's the finger. Middle finger touching the string. Yeah. Yeah. They essentially pinch each other. Although you don't want to actually strum with this finger. It's still just creating the node. Okay?
And that's a similar technique to the rock.
Yeah, that's a similar technique to the rock one, but it's generally a lot more effective because you've got perhaps 20 or 50 times the distance between your pick and the note of your string. Okay? I'm going to skip around a little bit because of lack of time here. I want to talk about, I want to deal, instead of with everything, with some of my favorites here. This is one that I've never seen anybody else do. This is using your pinky, side of your pinky to create the harmonic, and then strum with a pick. You can do it on chords. You can do it on single notes. Anything you can pick in harmonics then. The only problem with this technique is that at first it's very uncomfortable. It involves laying this finger across the strings as much as possible, using essentially somewhere in between the back and the side of your pinky, and you're pointing it up in your hand like this. You're really extending it a long way into your hand. Yeah. Curl all the other fingers up pretty tight into your hand so they're out of the way. Lay this thing down on the strings so that it goes right across the strings. And then find a way to strum at the same time. I'll tell you, it felt really uncomfortable to me the first time I did it. But I can see some naturals in here because...
Again, does the baby finger have to be 12 frets?
Yeah, it has to be 12 frets or at one of the other harmonics, which would be 19 or 24 or somewhere like that. The place to learn any new technique is at the 12th fret, though, because that's the strongest harmonic. Okay.
I'm having a hard time understanding. Which end is being moved with this harmonic? Your left or your right?
Your right is doing both the node and the strum.
So you're picking in front of the node?
You're picking in front of the node. Right. Okay.
Can you do it either way, though? You were also doing it the opposite way.
With this technique?
You were picking it behind where you were touching.
Just now or earlier?
First.
Yeah, there are a whole lot of ways to do it earlier, but you can't strum with any of them. You can't do a down and up stroke with any of them, except this one. So, it's because of being able to do a down and up stroke that this thing is so useful. You can do, and because it's essentially your standard pick technique, you don't have to shift the pick to some other place in order to play harmonics. It's right there anytime you're playing, so you can be just playing along and throw harmonics in anytime you want to. Okay? Real useful. You can use this in a band. You can use this anywhere. Okay.
I have a request.
Yes.
Before it's over, could you go over the way you do your harmony and walking bass on?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do. Actually, we're not gonna have enough time to fully do that, and so what I've done is tell you everything I know about that, and I wrote it down. And I think I gave. I don't have all. Oh, all the. They're over here. Everybody's got copies of this stuff. There's 6 pages on how to do the walking bass line and the comp at the same time, and that goes into great depth. On, well, 3 sheets, but
Oh, yeah.
I reduced 6 pages onto those 3 sheets. Yeah. Sadly, there's not going to be enough time to do everything.
Can you demonstrate it?
Yeah, I will. Okay, I want to deal with a couple of things that are real dramatic effects. One is slapping or tapping harmonics. Those of you who have heard me play have heard a particular section of a tune that I do that uses this a whole lot. Okay, that's just slapping chords at the 12th fret above whatever you're playing. And to start off with, do it with a chord that's pretty much at 1 fret. And you got to have pretty good aim with this. Don't just start hitting or you won't get very much. Use one finger to do this. And we talked before about sort of the gestalt of hitting something percussively. You want it to really bounce on the strings. What I suggest you do is play a minor 7th chord. That's a real good one to work with. And any kind of chord, or even a bar, anything that's all at 1 fret. And then, yeah, then just hit it 12 frets above. If you're not getting a harmonic, try hitting it harder. This is an amazing sound, isn't it? Listening to all this.
You're saying you do the same thing with individual notes?
Yeah, you can do the same thing with individual notes. I don't do it very much because I don't use a lot of gain. If you listen to Eddie Van Halen, for example, or there are a lot of rock players that play harmonics all the time. You know how when Eddie Van Halen plays he'll play a note like that, and then all of a sudden you'll hear it ring 2 octaves higher, but he's still got the note bent up. It's because he slapped a harmonic. You can barely hear it on my guitar because I don't use the same kind of gain structure in the amp. But you can do that playing single lines. If you get a chance, watch a video of him or see him in concert, and you'll see him doing that. Okay.
So on the last
Yeah.
page, you have next to a bar chord.
Oh, okay. If your chord, just average it. If your chord doesn't exactly go in any one particular direction, just sort of average it and turn your hand accordingly. If you're playing an 11th chord, then you've sort of got a diagonal. So hit it on the diagonal. You know, if you get 50% of a chord in harmonics, it's really enough to get a dramatic effect, so you don't have to be super accurate. Yeah, I hear a lot of harmonics, so I guess people are getting this. Okay. Okay, there's a whole set of stuff here that I'm not going to talk about. F, G, H, I, and J. I'm not going to talk about because it's well documented on all these Lenny Bro sheets and my notes on what Lenny didn't tell you. However, what I'm going to do is just briefly demonstrate it to try to give you some incentive to check out the sheets. And I I think I'm going to suggest that people not play it. It's pretty time-consuming to go through a bit-by-bit explanation, and it's pretty clear on these pages. So what I'm going to do is just show you what you'll get into if you do that. We're talking about this kind of sound. Which you can use for all different kinds of chords. And then this kind of sound. Everything I'm doing here, every single thing I'm doing is down on these pages. Okay, let's see. Pairs of notes. Okay, there's this kind of stuff. And there is, what else is on here? Oh, the impossible chord voicings. This is one of the best things I've ever found. All these kinds of chords and chords you just can't play without extreme duress. You can actually play quite simply by using a technique that's down here. Okay. It's another one of those things, for some reason, you just don't see people doing it. But it makes all the impossible voicings become really easy. What? No, it's easy to do. Unlike most of what I've been talking about, this one's simple. And was there anything else on here that's particularly great? No, that's it. Okay? All that stuff is covered on these pages, so enjoy. Oh, yeah, I already talked about slapping chords. Okay. I'm going to leave everything else on the harmonics off here. And if you want to know more about some of the unorthodox ways of hitting harmonics, let me know. So that I can at least give you a kind of overview of the bass line thing. Those of you who have seen me know that I spend a whole lot of time essentially being a rhythm section, because I play with my wife, Patty, who's a great singer, and with no other instruments. So I'm spending a lot of time getting bass lines. A lot of stuff we do is swing. Okay, that kind of stuff is all covered on these other pages. About playing bass lines and comping simultaneously. Everything I know is down here, in fact. It's a little depressing. When I wrote it up and discovered that, I realized.
It's all condensed in what, eight, 9 pages?
Yeah, everything. That's it. Okay. Yeah, you know, you could read this in probably 5 minutes. That's amazing. Well, it's life. You have to learn something else.
I'd say 20 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of it takes a little time, but actually probably this would help you to do it more quickly than I did. This is essentially very organized. And the way I developed this whole bass line thing was Patty and I were playing in a band. The band broke up and we said, well, let's get a gig while we put together another band. And so we went out and did an audition and had a gig the next, a few days later. And I didn't know anything about this, and so that's where it came from. I was just playing the gig, and found that it was necessary to start having some bass lines and some chords. Initially, I was doing it all with a pick and knew nothing about what I was doing. So this stuff just came on the gig, is what I'm saying. But what I did was look at my own playing and abstract out of it a lot of generalizations that sort of characterize my playing, could help you to develop it more quickly. And essentially what I'm going to suggest here is think about the various things you want to do, which are really 3 or 4-fold, and think about them independently and then try to put them together. Figure out, essentially if you want to learn how to be a rhythm section, think about what the roles are in a rhythm section. One is bass player. Somebody's got to go, and so forth. One is harmony, the guitar player, the piano player, the organ player. You've got all that kind of stuff. Another, to me the most important, is the percussionist. The drummer, the percussionist. In the case of the solo guitar player, who's really doing a kind of cartoon caricature of the whole thing, it's the backbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Most important thing in music I've found is the backbeat. And I'm not even being fully cynical. I've worked out a lot of things and there's no backbeat. Nobody really got into it. Simplified them and put a backbeat in there, and all of a sudden everybody really enjoyed it. I did too. Compare the difference. Let me play a blues for a second. I'm going to play the 2 parts, just the bass and the comp. In fact, I'm going to play something, though I don't have it memorized. I'm going to play essentially what I wrote down here. And then I'm going to play it first without the backbeat, and then I'm going to put the backbeat in. And notice the difference. Now with the backbeat. It really swings a whole lot more to have that thing going all the time. Corny, cartoon, but it works. So I spend some time in this outline here. I'm talking a lot about the outline because we're going to stop in about 3 minutes, and so there's no way to go over it all. I spend a lot of time in the outline talking about, first, how to play a bass line. I'll give you some rules on the first page. Secondly, what kind of voicings to use. Then how to combine them. That gets onto page 3 of 5, where I show you a set of rhythms. You see a bunch of rhythms written out that I suggest that you work out to do this. And just practice. You can practice anything as simple as a turnaround, even one chord, learning to get the independence between your thumb playing the bass and your fingers playing the comp. And then I talk about the backbeat over here, and how to combine that. Learn to do a backbeat while you're doing a bass line. Every other note of your bass has got to have a backbeat at the same time. The backbeat is a click with the back of your hands onto the strings, just as if you're getting ready to play. I think we talked about this last time a little bit, about that click sound. Learn to combine it with both the bass and the comp. Talking about independent studies. Guitar players never do this. If you think about piano players, they learn this from the very beginning, is working out independent studies. Of course, they're trying to get independence between 2 hands, and you're trying to get independence between different parts of one. But it's the same thing here. I talk about what to do when you get a really fast tempo, and some exercises. I wish we had more time to do this in more depth, but I hope that this will get you started. And if anybody is really into this and wants to go farther than this stuff can take you, get in touch with me, and I teach private lessons, so we can do something like that. We have exactly 1 minute for questions, and then this has to end, although I'll stick around if there isn't another class in here and answer any questions or anything. Yes, Rita. Yeah. Well, yeah, use fairly simple chords, and I talk about the voicings, but I wrote out an example of a blues, and I've written out the voicings you'd use. Pretty much you're going to use simple chord voicings. Again, think in terms of cartoon caricatures of stuff, because that's really what this is. You're just trying to suggest the concept of a whole band. So use simple chords to comp with, and then the difficult thing is getting the bass to happen at the same time. Work out a bass line, and then solve the fingering problems that come up. Or get a gig where people are going to be listening to you. And let necessity be the mother of invention. It is. It is a mother. Does that answer your question at all? Okay. Yeah, I would suggest to start off with that you practice it just on even one chord. That's no real simple matter. But once you get it, you'll have it for life. So simplify what you're playing in order to get this physical independence. Okay. Well, I think we have to stop because I think something else in here happens now.
I don't want to sound real commercial, but if everybody wants to see you do this stuff live here at the Varsity every Saturday night this summer.
That's right. I'll be at the New Varsity Theater in Palo Alto every Saturday night this summer. And you can see all this stuff in action. Okay, thanks. I might see you guys at the next classes, because I want to find some other things to put on these outlines. Okay, yeah, I'll give it, yeah. Oh, I would like to mention one other thing for everybody. Oh, yeah, it's yours. I'd like to mention actually two other things. One, if you haven't had enough of this stuff, I'm doing a seminar tomorrow night at Yale. If anybody wants to come, this is Yale Music in Redwood City. There's their article about me and their flyer. Some of these flyers are over here. Play? How do you do that?
Whatever you want.
Talk, test, hello, goodbye.